Oh, hi there. I didn't hear you come in. I was just reading Frank Herbert's Dune. My name's Elliot, but you may know me as the immature student. Today's video, well, I'm going to be honest with you, this is the fourth take, and it's not really to do with being a student, but it's a video. When I saw something the other day, I thought I need to make a video about that. So, the last video ran to about 16 minutes, and I'm going to try and condense this down for you with just the really salient points. So what are we talking about today? First, we need to get some basics out of the way. If you haven't seen Google's Selfish Ledger leaked video, go and watch that first. It's less than 10 minutes and it's entirely relevant. Secondly, if you haven't read all of the Dune books, more specifically, if you have not read as far as God Emperor of Dune, which is the book I'm largely going to be referencing in this, there will be spoilers. So if you really want to read those books, which I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't read them, and you are afraid of spoilers, then please do not watch this video, as there will be some. So I'm going to start off by talking briefly about data, and the collection of data that different companies may or may not hold on you, depending on how much of a conspiracy theory kind of guy you are. So there's the basics, right? We know from the Cambridge Analytica scandal that Facebook holds a hell of a lot of data about your likes, dislikes, who you talk to, all kinds of data there that Facebook hold, right? But then let's delve a little bit deeper. A lot of people have these Amazon Echoes, which we know are listening all the time because they have to be listening for you to say the word that activates them. So they are listening all the time. Whether or not that's being recorded is, again, anyone's guess. Amazon probably say no, and a lot of other people say yes. But there's more, okay? These are quite obvious ones. I mean, along with the Amazon Echo, you've also got things like the Nest cameras, etc., which film your home. But now we've got more than that. We've got the Nest thermostats, which obviously collect all the data, so they know how, obviously gas companies, etc., know how many units of gas you use to heat your home, but now they know exactly what temperature your house is at what hours, all of that information that can be collected from your habits of heating. There's things like Fitbits, which record your steps. They also GPS where you are. Your phone GPS tracks where you are all the time. One that I think a lot of people miss is all mobile phones nowadays, as far as I'm aware, all mobile phones, all of the flagship phones at least, both Amazon and Apple, require you to use the fingerprint unlock feature. It used to be an optional feature for security, now you have to use it. So all your phone providers have an entire database of your thumbprint or your fingerprint, depending on which kind of phone you use. Some of them have it on the back. So I mean, that's weird and scary, right? Your thumbprint is held. So even like Bluetooth scales and wireless scales, things like MyFitnessPal, so a lot of companies know what food you eat and when. They know how your weight fluctuates, your water weight, fat retention, all of that kind of stuff. A huge amount of data, right, is being collected. So Google's Selfish Ledger, that's what we're going to move on to next. That's the main feature of this video. Google's Selfish Ledger is basically a thought experiment in which they postulate that in the future, Google or any one other of these companies like Amazon, Facebook, there must be a few others that own these huge swathes of information, can collect all this data together and predict human behavior. Not only predict human behavior though, so we're talking about predict human behavior on an individual level. So they will be able to know based on your likes, dislikes, what you do, what you eat, what you listen to, that you're going to go to the shop at 2 p.m. this afternoon. There's a 93% probability that you're going to go to the local corner shop, that kind of thing. We're also talking about grand predictions. So lots of people have eaten at this restaurant, and that probably means that there's going to be some kind of mass uprising and they're going to overthrow the government, okay? So that's a bit of an oversimplification, but basically they think that with a large enough pool of data across enough generations, they'll be able to predict what individuals will do, but also what whole populations will do based on what's going on. Then add to that, we know about from the American election tampering, that the information you're fed through social media can, for a lot of people, affect how you'll vote, how you'll feel about things. I mean, a key example in this country, the United Kingdom, is that we have the kind of the left-wing newspapers and we have the right-wing newspapers. And a lot of people who read left-wing newspapers will have left-wing ideals. A lot of people who read the really questionable, I would say, questionable right-wing newspapers will, you know, take what they say as gospel and be like, oh my god, immigration crisis, and oh, the reason I don't have a job is because of this, that, and the other factor. And they will just take it as gospel and believe it. So, I mean, even on a primitive level, we know that what you are exposed to will decide how you act to a certain degree. So the Selfish Ledger is aiming to collect a huge amount of data on everything everyone does across multiple generations, and then use that ledger to steer humankind. That is weird, okay? So that is essentially saying one company, not even a not-for-profit organization, a company which its sole purpose is to make money for its investors and its CEOs and everyone else who's making money out of them, they will be able to, or they theorize, postulate that they will be able to control the human race without us even knowing it. So through sleight of hand, based on manipulating information which they will have learned how to do over generations of collecting huge amounts of data on us, they will be able to guide the human race. So if they want a certain population to overthrow their government, they will make that happen, or they will try to make that happen. If they want global disarmament with nuclear weapons, they will make that happen. Because let's face it, we can't go in and say this is always necessarily going to be a bad thing. But it will basically do away with free will. That's kind of the long and short of it, is they will be the hand that controls from the back. Now, how does that link to God Emperor of Dune, you may ask, if either A, you just haven't put pieces together yet, or 2, you haven't read the book. God Emperor for Dune, which was published in, I believe, 1981, before the advent of the internet, way before companies like Google and Amazon owned everything and collected everyone's data. This guy, who can see into the future, sees that the human race is pretty much doomed. So he kind of genetically modifies himself, bonds with these sandworms, which extends his life to like 3 million years. He becomes the emperor by controlling the only valuable resource, the spice melange, in the Duneverse, or in our universe, what's been dubbed the new oil, data, of course. Okay, here's the correlation here. He controls the spice, which keeps him in control. They control the data, which will keep them in control. And he basically sets humanity on his golden path. He foresees this is the only way humanity can proceed, and that if this doesn't happen, the human race will go down the Swanee and be cocked. What's the problem with this? It was one guy's opinion, okay? He did away with everyone's free will. He made himself into a god and controlled and orchestrated everything the human race did for 3 millennia, and set it up in such a way that they would continue to do what he wanted them to do post his death. He set the wheels in motion, as it were. And that's basically what Google is suggesting they'd be able to do. That they would have either this super powerful AI, or this group of people in a room somewhere who would look at all this data pool and then manipulate this data pool to steer the hand of humanity. And that's really quite scary, that free will may become an illusion, and that everything we do will be controlled by one company, whether we like it or not. Because we kind of already know that free will to a degree is an illusion, because you have hormones and other kind of biological things going on in your body which make you do the things that you do. So if what they're saying is true, that they can manipulate your behavior through data points, then you would really have A, no idea that this stuff was happening, and B, no idea that that well, no way to stop it. No idea it was happening and no way to actually act in a different way. So that's weird, that's scary. Let's look at fiction again, look at 1984, okay? A lot of people say that 1984 was, and it was, kind of a warning of what can happen if you slowly let a nanny state infiltrate. And I think we currently live in a surveillance state, or a nanny, that's a different term I suppose. So yeah, surveillance state we live in. In the 90s it started with CCTV. Now, as I said, all these companies own all this data on you and continue to collect it. We received the warning, ignored the warning, and in this case decided that the comfort and joy that all this new technology brings was worth losing our privacy. We've pretty much made that decision at this point. But now we have another warning from fiction. A warning that if we continue to allow our privacy to be taken from us in favour of this technology, and we allow this data to be collected, we will be stepping foot into a future much like God Emperor of Dune, where one corporation, one entity, one AI, whatever it may be, will be guiding humanity like some kind of crazy hive mind ant colony. And I think the really important question here, and I'm not going to give an answer, it's up to you guys to discuss and decide and think about yourselves, but the real question is all of this technology and everything we're getting in return for this data collection worth having one thing being in charge of humanity and taking away all of our free will? Comment down below with what you think. Let's get a discussion rolling. If you haven't read God Emperor for Dune, obviously read the other books first if you haven't read them. But, you know, watch The Selfish Ledger, read God Emperor for Dune, see for yourself that, you know, I'm not kind of pulling this stuff out of my ass. This is a very clear, not necessarily a warning, but that Frank Herbert, one of the greatest sci-fi writers ever, foresaw something like what Google are trying to do now, happening way before the infrastructure even existed for any company to be able to do it. So that's a real clear view of a potential future, and I think we can see it as a warning if we feel it's a bad thing, if we feel it's a good thing, and we're like, yeah, I want to be steered. Screw free will, I'd rather be happy and have a new iPhone every year, then fine, okay. But I just thought I'd put this out there. I saw The Selfish Ledger and it really made me think, and I felt I had to draw these parallels. So peace and love if you stuck with me through that video. It may well have been as long as it was last time, and there's a siren in the background. But hopefully you stuck with me, hopefully you enjoyed it. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace and love. Ciao for now.